Hey, if you like to shop on Amazon like most everybody, you can help Southgate Media Group out by going to southgatemediagroup.com and look at the top. There's an Amazon link. You can click that, log into your account, and a portion of everything you buy will help support the podcast of Southgate Media. So it's cheap, it's easy, and you're just doing the same thing that you would do anyways.
This is Dan Jurgens, and if you want to have a good time, keep listening to the Krypton Report.
It's a bird. It's a plane. It's Superman.
Jason J. Lewis, the voice of Superman on Justice League Action. This is Mark Wade, writer of Superman Birthright, and you're listening to
the All Things Kryptonian podcast, including Superman and Supergirl.
We discuss games, movies, cartoons, TV shows, and comics.
Find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter.
Hey guys, before we get started, I just want to say, if you haven't done so yet, but check out the Aspiring Kryptonian podcast as well as the Last Sons of Krypton podcast, both hosted by friends of ours. Good time in the world of Superman. Welcome to the Krypton Report. It is I, Tyler, the Superman of Blue, the man of tomorrow. And with me is not James, that lovely man with the beard who had to shave his beard. Sadly, talked about that last time. But I do have a fun replacement. I'd like to welcome back our good friend, Kelly. Hi, Kelly.
Hi. How are you doing?
I am doing well. I am all right. We're excited here today because we're going to talk about a special event that's coming up. We had done one previously. We did a Super Friends virtual con, and there's another one coming around. And this one, I'm pretty stoked for. I mean, even if I wasn't part of things, I would be stoked as it is. So I invited Kelly back to talk about it, and we're going to go from there. But before we get to the virtual con, what's been going on with you, Kelly?
Well, I've been busy. It's been a really fun third year. So I've been doing my drunk comic, but that's been a little bit on the back burner because I joined the podcast network for a different show. I joined this Actuarial Box podcast network. John Pica is the guy who heads it all up. He's a podcast. So we're on YouTube. I'll send you the link.
Nice.
And what I'm doing for it is I'm doing this little 5-minute comic reviews. It's called Back-ish Breakfast Club. And I dress up cosplay every week. I review a new back-issue trade paperback or graphic novel. And I have so much fun. I did not get to cosplay a whole lot last year, except for like our monthly photo shoots. And it's been a lot of fun to just like cosplay to review a different comic. Also, just I've kind of branched out and there are comics I might not read otherwise, because trying to get more variety. So
nice. So what have you reviewed so far?
Oh boy, it's been a lot.
Just a couple. You don't have to go into all of them. You can just
no, I don't. The very first review was Hawkeye Private Eye by Kelly Thompson, and that was so much fun. I cannot recommend that book. Like, I love Kelly Thompson. And then the most recent one that's going live on today is an indie comic by my good friend Marcus Janet Wade called Shinobi Ninja Princess. And if you haven't read it, it's an all-age book. It's really fun. And I adore Marcus. Which I said in the review, I just recorded. So that's why I'm repeating myself.
Where can we get our hands on the book?
So that book is by on Amazon. And you can also go to MAW and all the really good stuff. So.
Awesome.
And then in between, I looked up, or one of the things I reviewed that was one of my favorite Black Widow. There was Black Widow stories, getting ready for the Black Widow movie, and
that we're still hoping comes out. You know,
it's gonna come out eventually. I hope. But I reviewed. This was a collection of stories, late 70s, early 80s at home.
That's cool. That sounds awesome. That would be fun to check out. Definitely definitely gonna put that in show notes, support that. But yeah, the Black Widow movie is like, it's kind of how I was feeling towards Wonder Woman 1984. I feel like by the time we got it, all the hype had just died for it. So you were just kind of like, it's like that moment had passed. The excitement, the promotional engine, the merch, all that had already like come and gone.
The merch was already like on sale and like gone. It was so sad.
And it's like, I'm like with Black Widow, they kept trying like to put it back, like, oh, we'll put it back, but then it's just like now they're trying to ramp it back up. It's like, man, like I'm excited, but it's at the same time, it's like, I don't know. You just kind of, and it's always weird, like the fact that it's like a midquel kind of movie,
Yeah, I gotta say, I love Black Widow. I've never been that excited, and I really want to be, and it makes.
I was excited just because it's another, MCU film, and her supporting cast is great. But at the same time, it's like, if you had done this in the chronological order, it would have been better, because now, like, I don't feel this big, like, oh, we're revisiting her. It's kind of like, okay, you took my emotions when she died and sacrificed in Endgame, spoiler, 2-year-old movie. And now you're like, oh, hey, this is an adventure you guys missed out on. Okay, that's cool. But at the same time, I'm like, I don't want to be jumping around in time in the MCU.
Yep.
It's one thing when you do like a Captain Marvel where it's a brand new character and you threw her like before the events of Iron Man. But I don't want to be like sitting there like, all right, this new movie takes place between these movies that were released 6 years ago, 5 years ago, whatever. And you're like, okay.
And this is a character we know is going to die horrible. Like with Captain Marvel, it's not the same because you don't know she's going to die horribly. Yeah,
it was all new. It was an introduction. Just like, in a sense, you think kind of like with shut up, Siri. Kind of like Captain America. When they did his movie, we'd already gotten several movies into the MCU, and technically his movie was like a flashback movie, and it worked. And I don't want to be like trying to play, when does this take place?
Yeah.
We already with the TV series, which are basically longer movies they put on Disney Plus.
Yes.
They're moving the story forward, past Endgame. We had our one post-Endgame film, and now it's like, hey, let's take a movie and go backwards. And I don't know. It's supposed to set up stuff, like I guess there was things in it that was going to come back around, in Captain America, Winter Soldier. Falcon. It started as Falcon and Winter Soldier, ended as Captain America and Winter Soldier, so whatever.
Yeah.
But it's just, I get it, but it's at the same time, it's, if you really want me to care about these characters, don't jump backwards, because then it makes their deaths feel cheap.
Agreed.
It's like if all of a sudden you gave me an Iron Man film that takes place, I don't know, like, how about right after Iron Man 3? Because Iron Man 3 is the most ridiculous movie in the entire MCU. It is, because here's the thing with that movie. Nothing that happens in that movie matters.
True.
Because his whole arc in that movie, as soon as you start Avengers 2,
it's wiped away.
It's wiped away. And then here's the one that got me the most. And I hate that someone pointed this out to me that I didn't pick up on it. Extremis' whole thing was about repairing tissue. And Tony supposedly cracked the code, right? That's how he saved Pepper, right? Wouldn't that be what would help Rhodey? Instead of metal legs, wouldn't you just, hey, bro, here's some Extremis? And that's, you know what I'm saying? Right?
Yeah, I think everyone forget that Iron Man that terrible.
And then they were like, okay, we screwed up the Mandarin. Short film it. What's put? I miss those MCU short films.
Those good.
What was it called? The Coulson, when a funny thing happened on the way to Thor's hammer.
I'm sad those aren't available.
I agree with you. I think those would be awesome on Disney Plus. I think it was just something fun to look forward to when you purchased the home content, however you purchased it. Like, it was like, oh, I get the new short. So, especially like we're in this rebuild of MCU, of like, now that it's past, all of our big characters are kind of fizzling out. We're trying to build new stuff up. But the only other thing I was going to say about Black Widow is it kind of falls into those like rules. Like, Jania and I we started watching Star Wars over. My wife is amazing. She said, hey, we're going to do something. I said, all right. And she started Star Wars. Like, we're going to start from the beginning, go through all of them. I'm like, all right, that's my woman. And, and I'm like, the thing about a prequel, when you make it, is you're stuck. There's certain things that stick you. Like, we're watching these scenes and then we're just talking. I'm like, okay, like, if you look at this, there's no tension here because, Obi-Wan is safe. He can't die here. He can't get injured real bad here because he's going to be okay down here. So same thing with, we were watching Attack of the Clones. I mean, that whole thing, I'm like, all three of these characters are safe. I'm like, he turns into Vader. She has to give birth and he dies in number 4. I'm like, all of them are safe. So it's like, there's no tension for those who have already seen the other films. Now, if you're watching them, you don't have no knowledge and you're watching them straight, it works. But that's the traps you fall in when you go back and try to do prequels.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's just our tangent for today. But that's cool. That's a cool way to review comics. I think that's one thing that James and I, oh, you're welcome, have wanted to, we do review the comics, but sometimes we get behind, because, now we have 2 shows that we're kind of going around the same time to review. Used to, we just have one and,
right.
And then we catch up on comics and do that. Now we have consistency. Like, Supergirl is taking a break now, and then Superman and Lois start again, and then that's going to finish out. I think it's going to run to almost, I'm going to guess about August, because in August is when Supergirl returns, and then, they're going to finish out her series. So we have a super show running almost the entire year.
Which is a lot for you guys, but that's exciting.
I mean, it is.
It's to be a super fan.
It's weird just because we're so used to how TV like starts and stops, and then you have like your shows over the summer. That's always when DC Universe would do. They started moving their stuff, like Titans starts again in July. But now we just have like this continual run of something. So that's going to be interesting. But speaking of Superman and Lois, have you been watching?
I am behind, but I have been watching. It's like a spiritual sequel. It's like if Smallville and Lois and Clark had a baby.
Exactly. And that's why, like, I've said this before many times. It's like, I loved watching Lois and Clark when I was younger. And then it's still a great show, just like a feel-good Superman show to put in the background. But then I started Smallville when I was in high school. When Smallville went off the air, Jenny and I had just gotten married. We had been married like 2 months. 2, 3 months. Yeah, about 2, 3 months, somewhere right around there, when it went off the air. So I finished high school, did college, other things, and then got married with this show in the background of my life. Now, flash forward to this new Superman series where he's married and has kids and is a father, and I've been married for 10 years, right, babe? High five. What up? And we have children. It's like I'm connected to my character again.
That's so.
Yeah, and it's like cool. I mean, yeah, his kids are teenagers on the show, but you can't have everything perfect, right? But
how old are your kids?
Solomon is 6, and Selah just turned 4.
Mine are 11. Oh.
And my daughter acts like she's 16.
Oh.
I'm thoroughly scared when she's.
Good luck.
I look at her like, I love you. You're going to wrap me around your finger. So,
Yep.
um,
Just buckle up and enjoy the ride.
that's the good times about being a parent. But at the same time, like the comic, they did Superman and Lois and the whole, what do you call it? Or Lois and Clark, the Dan Jurgens, right? It's the same words, just flip. And Rebirth and Convergence all happened around the same time Solomon was born. So technically, in the comics, John Kent was born the same year Solomon was.
Oh.
And so Rebirth hit, the year Solomon turned 1. So it's like I'm reading, Superman comics, and I'm reading this story about Superman as a dad as I'm entering being a dad. So it was always like kind of like it really helped thrill me back into the books of just like, yes, sweet. But the show's been great. I mean, my only fear on it is just eventually I might fall into some of those CW traps.
That's my...
that, and then I don't want to be one of those people because, like, I see people who are like, they're doing this. We saw this on Smallville, or we saw this over here. Like, okay, it's still the same character. There are similar experiences in their story arcs. It's like we're old enough now that we can reference previous incarnations of our character on TV. So it's funny. And, it just, like, the first 2 episodes felt like a movie that you, like, a made-for-TV movie almost. But then when they threw in the Captain Luthor stuff, like, at the end, that's when it felt CW. That's when, to me, it felt TV. It's like, yep, yeah, throw that back in there.
Yeah. But it's an interesting arc, but it definitely is a thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, CW, like, much as we love them, I feel like they've gotten to a point where they have their isms.
Yeah.
So what else have you been reading?
Oh, let's see. So I just finished West Coast Center, which another Kelly Thompson book. And I read Kelly Thompson's Black Widow. I'm so disappointed that I'm not it. So just, oh my God. Yeah. And then I picked up Darwin Cook's Batman Ego and Other Tales. So
I just recently read that. I bought that on a sale digitally. I don't really like to buy digital comics. But that one's been so hard to find. And ever since Matt Reeves listed as an inspiration for his Batman film, I feel like the prices jumped in physical print. So when they did a sale on digital, I was like, I'm going to check that out.
I found it on Amazon at the price.
Good.
But I just started it. So I finished the Ego short story and the Black and White. Started. May he rest so much.
I know. Like, I think sometimes he gets forgotten as a writer.
Yes.
He just, when I hear Darwin Cook, like, and I think maybe this is the same for many people, maybe not, like, immediately think of New Frontier.
Yes.
That's just where I jump to. And there's a lot more that he did and contributed that I think gets lost and overlooked.
That's why I didn't want to review New Frontier right away for my series. Like, I'm trying to highlight other things that people might forget about, or might not think about. But also, I'm trying to, with what I'm trying to do with my series, I'm trying to make people might be characters, but might not know where with comics. So I've done a lot of like I reviewed Justice League Year One because someone wants to start reading Justice League. That's a point to jump on, even though it's not the Justice League that's recommended that founders.
Mm-hmm.
And then like I did the Wonder Woman, the Legend of Wonder Woman. Brain fart. But that's another one where like if you want to start somewhere on Wonder Woman and you don't know where to start, that's a good standalone. And so I've been trying to like read a lot of stuff and do a lot of stuff that if people are really characters, it's really intimidating to get into comics.
Oh, it is. And that's, I mean, when people argue about the New 52, I'm like, it helped a lot of people get back into it because it was a place to start again. I mean, like what you're saying, if someone asks me like a Superman story or something to read and they're like, I need a point, I always reference the Earth One books.
Yep.
Because there's 3 of them. They're all great. And you can read one and be like, oh, that was cool. Or if you like it, you have the 2 others, but they're self-contained. You don't have to have a lot of background knowledge. You don't have to jump in and try to figure out where you are in the overall story. And I like those self-contained, or even like right now, if you haven't read the Superman Red and Blue book, like anthology books where they're all like made of short stories, they're great if you just want something like of a character to read. And
right.
Because it's daunting to try to just jump in somewhere to find that point of where can I start. And
if you don't know where to start, you end up spending a lot of money on.
Right. And that's why I love good trades of self-contained stories. Like James and I are about to finish up here. We kind of stretched it out a little bit longer because we're going to do the movie review with our friends from the Last Sons of Krypton podcast, the All-Star Superman. And it's been interesting just dissecting it on, it's so well revered, but how much I don't like it.
Yeah, you and I discussed it a little on the lowest episode. And yeah.
There's things in it I like, but to me, I'm like, this...
Over.
Right. I'm like, this is more overrated to me than a lot of other things. The artwork's beautiful.
It is. The one thing I like about that comic where Clark is in prison with Black and like casually protecting him from things.
Mm-hmm.
And like guarding his identity. So like he stumbles and protects Black from whatever. I don't.
Yeah. He protects him from getting electrocuted, and earlier he bumps into a guy and protects him from getting like a piece of like a train that's overhead falling off and hitting him. That's fun stuff that's in there. And then of course later there's the big scene of him helping the suicidal girl, which is epic.
But overall, like.
It kills me. I'm probably going to be crucified online for this, but just because
don't add him.
I'll have to edit it out. Because it just seems like when people are like, "Oh, what's a Superman story?" Oh, this one. And I would much rather recommend Superman for All Seasons than All-Star Superman.
And Superman Birthright. That's my go-to.
I mean, I have like a file that I wrote down. Like, if you were going to reboot Superman in a film or anything, like, I think the beginning of Birthright is like the place to start. Like the first half, because I love the Clark, like in Africa and all that stuff that they do with him there. I like the whole book. Don't get me wrong, but
yes.
I really love the beginning of that. And I think the latter half has kind of been done with the whole big invasion, even though it's got a different spin on it, Like this week, Jania, I forgot that the kids and I had watched the Superman Man of Tomorrow film without her, and we watched the new one together, the Justice Society World War II. And we all watched that as a family together, and I got all excited because it had the connection of Superman character. Spoiler for anyone who hasn't watched it yet, too bad. And I was like, oh, we were talking. I was like, you haven't watched it. So we watched that one, and she really liked Man of Tomorrow. And we were talking about how it's like a different approach of, it was a smaller Superman story and scale. And just like the way the character was done was really well. We didn't have to have this huge, like, big invasion Superman scene.
I love that Superman kind of arm.
The only thing with that, I wish they had, like, Parasite, Rudy, they had given him feet instead of, like, stubs when he starts turning, like, more into, like, a Godzilla. Like,
yeah.
That was a weird choice.
Yes.
But anyways, that's just kind of some fun chit chat. But we got this thing going on, this Super Friends virtual celebration event.
Yes. Virtual Super Friends celebration. So it's June 11th through the 13th. And we're going to be live streaming on, basically we're going to be live streaming. There's a Facebook event page and also through my YouTube channel. So you can put that YouTube channel in the show notes. And it is so much fun. And hopefully you're going to be participating.
I am.
And I'm going to read off the guest list because we got some great guests. I have some pretty awesome people. One of the awesome that, or two of my awesome here. So, George Newbern, who may be best known for Father of the Bride, but you know him as the
yes.
League and also voiced Justice and all sorts of. He's voiced Superman.
A lot.
So many places. Look at his IMDb. This man voiced so many.
If I'm not mistaken, he was also the voice of Superman when they did, I'm going to look it up right now, Superman versus the Elite.
Yes.
Which, I'll tell you, like, I did not like the animation on Superman himself, but I love that movie. Yes. Yes, he did.
Well, because they got pretty much all the just back.
And I mean, like you said, like he has done it so much.
I know.
I am too.
You and I get to interview him, and I'm trust closely because obviously you're interviewing.
Exactly. I'll dress as Superman because it's. I do that as it is, anyways, almost daily. But
you gotta.
Yeah. I loved when they did. Side note, like when they did in the comics where Superman just like wore a Superman T-shirt and jeans. I basically was cosplaying every day of my life to work. I'd wake up, put on jeans and a Superman shirt. I was like, all right, cosplay and go.
Dress for the job you want, not the job you had.
I tried that, and my mom just looked at me like I was stupid. But yeah.
All right. So other guests, we have Diedrich Bader. I hope I'm right.
Yep.
From the Drew Carey Show, and more recently, voices Batman.
And he did Batman the Brave and the Bold, and the Batman the Brave and the Bold meet Scooby-Doo, which we were watching last night as a family, and I said, "Oh, Shadia, Kelly got Diedrich Bader for the con," and she looks at me and goes, "What?" Like,
right?
She's super excited.
Yeah, and then we have Christine Willis, aka earlier.
Okay. I have a question to ask her when we interview her.
Okay.
Because, first of all, she was creepy as heck during games.
I know. So,
my question is, and I'm going to say it on here so you know, you don't get to ask her, was in the movie Trick or Treat, which she is part of. I've watched it enough and I haven't always caught it, but she's supposed to be in the scene as one of the female werewolves in the woods. As I read that, and I wanted to ask her, was she supposed to be one of the female werewolves? Spoiler if you've never seen that movie, totally should have said that first. But
I mean, if the movie's over a year old, I think the spoiler.
okay, good, because it's been like 10 plus. But also she was Dolores Herbig in Dead Like Me, which is the first place I saw her. Like,
Yes.
cool show that has another Smallville alum on it, Kellen Blue.
Oh.
So for those who have no idea what I'm talking about, look it up.
And then we have Vito D'Ambrosio from The Flash. Both shows. He played Officer Antebellum in the original Flash show headed by John Ship. And then his character was kind of continued in the CW version of The Flash and basically promoted to become mayor. So mayor currently.
I love how they've done that. Like, kind of made the old show like. Then by tying with the multiverse, it really makes it work. But it's just kind of neat because I guess. Well, I guess if I remember right, Berlanti, that was one of his first jobs. He worked on that show in like a very low totem pole type. If I remember correctly, he knew them. That's why he was friends with them. Like, it was one of his first jobs, and that's why like there's so much cohesion between that show and the new Flash,
which is just excellent. It's such a love. And then we also have Michael Cerveris, who Professor Pig from Gotham. He's ran for from Pig. He was in Ant-Man and Wasp. Very good. Then we have Diane Sherry Case with Young Lang from as well as the young Clark Kent from the Superman. So
that's another one I'd love to just listen in on because I've like been Facebook friends with Jeff East and everything and his story is just so interesting of just like having all of his lines re-recorded and everything, and it's heartbreaking, but at the same time, like, he's still forever known as Young Clark. And then like
I did not know all his lines were recorded. Terrible. Like,
oh yeah, if you go listen to it now, because I didn't know it until I was told it was like a bubble pop. If you go listen to it now, you'll hear like it's Chris Reeve talking lower, like, or higher in a different register, and then they put like prosthetics on Jeff and all this to make him look more like Chris. Like, and I'm like, man, that's just rough.
Yeah, like you're all excited, like I've got job and bodied up.
I mean, yeah. I mean, now, I figure like if they did that movie now, they would just use Chris and use like CG de-aging tech.
True.
You know, like, oh, we like him so much, we're just going to do this.
And then we have John O'Connell, who is host of Cinema Blend and also wrote a book called Release. This book is a mouthful, but it's called Release the Snyder Cut. The crazy story behind the fight to save Zack Snyder's justice. You're going to be that's going to be interesting. A lot of excitement. Oh.
I'm excited for that just because like I feel like I know a lot, but I feel like it's one of those things like you'll never know everything.
Yeah. I think you're going to have. And then our musical entertainment is Matthew Ike. So he is a Broadway star, and Priest, West Side Story, all sorts. His voice. So that's going to be our musical entertainment. So, yeah, we have. Oh, and then I almost forgot. We also have John Moore written for DC. Batman, Superman, Birds of Prey, also Marvel, written Avengers, Cast for X. If you love a character, that's probably great. It's going to be a fun. And then we're going to have the band to cosplay. John, who I mentioned before, is going to do a panel about turning your geek hobbies. This is stuff.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
That'd be great. Then, I have a very loving and supporting wife, but if I was making some money off it, more.
Right? I definitely think that done with our podcast work in months. And he's done plenty of stuff before this that was
That's exciting. I mean, I feel like time has just been crazy for the past year, but like it wasn't but a few months ago we had our first one. For how long has it been since we did that?
Oh gosh, I don't know. Timey-wimey, like you said, was it before COVID or no?
It was after. It was after. During. I mean, there is.
Oh
no
yeah,
after.
it was sometime. So
That sounds about right. It's just one of those things where I was on another podcast and we were talking, and it's like it had been a year already, and we were like, "Wow, it has been." And I'm like, "Dang, it doesn't feel like it's been that long," but just the time has gone by.
It's been very a lot of stuff. Before COVID, I had any huge shows, let alone it's not definitely not heading up virtual. Like I got to interview Wonder Woman, Shannon Barnes, and that's incredible. Like if I post something and like I'm struggling with something, I get words for that's most amazing. Like so.
That is awesome. It's like, one of my favorite interviews I had done was I really loved the Justice League action cartoon, and watching that with the kids was great. And I got to interview Jason J. Lewis, who voiced Superman. And and I was like, this is so cool, like talking with him. He's a really awesome guy. And I'm like, I feel bad because I feel like he did a great job. And honestly, he's my third favorite Superman voice. And it's because, the George and Tim thing is so, like, tight. But if you listen, like, he has that similar kind of voice. I would love to have him get to be part of some other Superman project. Like one of these direct-to-DVD videos, like the offshoot ones, not the continuity ones, because I feel like they find an actor and they keep that. But, like,
right. I'm
just like, there's other things going on. It would be great to have him back for something. And
I feel like the Justice League action cartoon is so underrated.
I feel like it was because I was talking about this, and you commented on my post, like, it was like a blink and you miss it thing.
Yep.
And I hate it because Teen Titans Go is still going. And
is it really?
Yeah.
What?
And
how? Oh my gosh.
Exactly. And with my kids now, like trying to find like a good cartoon, like a DC cartoon, is hard because it's like the new DC superhero girls is cool. They did for a while. They did those DC cartoons where they were like 2-minute episodes on YouTube or like in between things, and then they would release like a home video of it.
Right.
And I'm like, that's not cool. Like a 2-minute little short. And now they're the 2 like 10 or 15-minute episodes and like a 30-minute block. And that was kind of the same model that Justice League Action did. And that was cool because it was fun and goofy, but yet had good stories. And it was all the Justice League, characters. There wasn't that continuity that we had when we were younger and everything in the story, but it was more serious and fun. The voice talent was amazing. It was goofy, and it's like, how did this not stay around? Like, you had every character. Like, we were rewatching one, and there was an episode that had Stargirl and Supergirl in it, and lost her. And I was like, sweet, because I'd totally forgotten about it. There's so many of these, the episodes, and I'm just like, this cartoon was great. And then the merchandise was another, like, the toys came and went before you could really jump on board. And I'm like, DC, what are you doing? Like, you're not cultivating the kids to really like your stuff because you're not making anything for them.
Right. And all their animated are like PG-13 or R-rated. And don't get me wrong, a lot of them are, but like, they want to sell toys that parents, they sure as heck don't want to make Superman and Batman comics that could.
I mean, it boggles my mind because I don't mind, like, there's some movies that are made that are animated that are more geared towards adults. Okay, I don't mind that. I don't mind that some of the shows are. Like, I think Doom Patrol is a great example of that's made for adults,
right? And
because those characters, no child's gonna be like, oh, I want the new Negative Man figure, But, with certain characters, you have to have something that the kids are excited about. That's why I still do, the Flash TV series, because it was made as the idea of like a family show. It's the show that with DC characters that you can sit down and watch as a family. And they've been true to that model since it started. And that's, I watch a lot of the older cartoons with my kids because they were made for kids, They did the same thing with the Batman Unlimited, where they were like 2-minute little shorts online, and then they did 3 direct-to-video movies. That model doesn't work.
Yeah.
And then they did Justice League Action, and it kind of just disappeared. My proposal was to do a great Super Sons, John Kent and Damian Wayne with their super pets on adventures doing stuff. And of course, it's easy to throw in, the other characters. But yeah, some of these direct-to-video, like the Superman Man of Tomorrow, there was some stuff, and I was like, that's PG-13, but like, you could retweak that a little bit and make it more of a for family.
Right.
And that's my thing is, I want my kids to love these characters and get hyped about stuff, and it's so crazy. I have to be like, you can't watch it or you can't see it.
Well, and some of the stuff that they make in art, like you said, you could very easily tweak it and have it. And there's like no that the violence and the adult content they put in it is it lives right out without. By no means am I a prude. Anyone who watches current comics will know that, but there's some stories that
there's some characters that are just endured to children.
Yep.
And they need that.
Yep.
Example, like Young Justice was a show that was to be a kid's show, but it was written at that higher caliber that adults really enjoyed it.
Right.
They didn't sell a lot of toys, so they canceled it. And then when they brought it back, they didn't keep the same tone. They brought it back for season 3 and just made it for adults. And even some adults are like, I don't enjoy it as much. You changed what it was.
Right.
Instead of keeping that tone that you had, you went completely serious adult. And now I don't even like it, as an adult. Like, it's like, it's not what it was. It is.
As an adult, sometimes I want a little more light and fun. Like, it feels
gloomy.
And gloomy, yes. Especially time.
I want that hope and aspiration what these characters were written to be. You were talking about I had a conversation with my brother-in-law yesterday about how it boggles my mind that the only female character besides Wonder Woman that DC pushes in merch and the kids and everything is Harley Quinn.
Right.
And then the movie that you put her in, you make it rated R?
Yeah. I don't get it either.
I'm like, to me, that's like, that would be my solid, okay, this is a PG-13. We want this character, but we want to be able to sell this thing. We want a wide audience, you know, and we, at the same time, like, it boggles my mind that you didn't go for, like, Harley Quinn, like Gotham City Sirens versus the Birds of Prey and do a all-female movie of villains, heroes, everything, and just kind of go all out and make it PG-13 and just, you could have sold the crap out of it. But you make the character that you're selling to kids rated R, and then it like cuts out your fan base.
Right. And imagine the toys they could have sold. Harley had so many costumes.
That's the whole reason they do costume changes in movies. Right. That's the whole reason that Batman has at least 2 costumes in every movie, and he changes costumes every movie. It's because it's a new toy.
Yep. And Harley had like 4 costumes. Yeah, they have collections, but don't.
All you have to do is you make the collectible, like the McFarlane figure, and then you make the regular figure, and you'll sell them both.
Yep.
It boggles my mind, you know, and that's why I think we end up falling back so much on the cartoons of like the Bruce Timm universe, because they're timeless, and they you know, Jania was watching the Batman with the kids. They wanted to rewatch that, and that it's not bad. Like, there's good in it. I enjoy it. The kids like it, because there's just nothing new for them. Like I said, the new DC superhero girls, it's cool. I don't mind it. It's not bad. I just kind of wish there was more quality in it, like the animation and everything. But that's just the world we live in.
Well, and then they did a redesign.
Yeah, the redesign is what I mean. Like the original one, I wish they had done an actual show of, because that one was cool, and it was the redesign is just like, it's okay. It's just very low quality. And, you know, I want my daughter to be able to enjoy. She loves these characters and have something great to watch. It kills me because she's like, I want to watch Supergirl. Okay. And then my son's like, where's Superboy? And I'm like, don't Justice. She's one, too. And he's like, of course, he's the most angry character on the show. Like, I'm like, yeah.
It's also, I don't love. That's a whole other thing. I love young Superfriend.
That's why my idea sells. I mean, we actually have been watching the old Crypto series from the early 2000s that I completely didn't see because it was that time period when I just didn't have TV. Yeah, that is our segment on cartoons. But okay, so I was going to ask you this before we went down our tangent. What inspired you to do the virtual Superfriend celebration? Were you just sitting around one day like, I want to talk to people?
So it was my friend Brandon's site, and my friend Brandon is in the Superfriends group. Or, hey, we should do a virtual convention because the last year, of course, the Metropolis and he was like sad about canceled, and he knows I'm an organizer and that I get way too into organizing, so he kind of approached maybe we could do something. And he and I both, when we started talking about this, did not say it become what at all. Like with celebrities and stuff, no. We just kind of were like, yeah, maybe we can get together on Zoom, get together and try to do the event. So then I got I put out the call for volunteers. My Dan joined in, and he started asking celebrities. Yes. And from there, and then we planned camp and tried to make it as like fun. Good. So fun. That we were like, well, why don't we wait a whole year? Another one in January.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're going to get this great spot.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think it was great. I think it's something that can definitely keep going. Oh, you're welcome. I think it's fun because you bring together different people in a community, especially at this time. I think it's easier for some of the guests to just appear like for, 10, 20 minutes, whatever, jump online and do something. And, it's been so great that even DC with their fandom last year, they're doing it again this year because it was a major hit. And I miss real cons, but I think the virtual things are fun because you can tap into it and you can kind of be a little bit more a part of it if it's something that like it's a convention that, oh man, like it sounds awesome, but I can't, go to a different state or whatever.
Right.
I really think it's a cool thing to be part of. And I thank you for the opportunity to be a part of things. It was so much fun last time and just, new people I got to meet and talk with online and continue to talk to.
It was both times. It was so much work, but it was so worth it. Like, our celebrity guests both times, so great. We have no budget, and they didn't ask for anything. They knew we had no budget, and they sweethearts and wanted to connect with us. So, sure to give them get autographs. So if you're interested, we'll be posting autographs from our current guests, and they're taking their time. They don't have to. Just, I'm really moved by how big their hearts are, how much they want. I think they missed it as that they care about their.
I agree. So I think the virtual thing it's a game changer in a lot of ways of just connecting and doing things and getting to meet people and interact with people you never thought you'd have a chance to.
It's been the weirdest. Like I said, it's been the weirdest year and a half I've ever had. All of us. I definitely would never. Okay. I thought I would. For those.
Oh, I mean, it's yeah. I mean, but you just gotta, we gotta take what we can and
right.
Kind of just roll with it. And I think that this has been a great thing. Anything else you want to plug, say, or any other tangent you feel like going down? You want to take up too much of your time tonight?
Oh, well, definitely follow my YouTube channel because we're going to be airing the con on there, and then follow me on Facebook, Phoenix Facebook, on Instagram. Always posting cosplay. I post my reviews on Facebook. Those also get posted back to Cereal Box. And other than that, reach out, and I love to talk. So.
It's awesome, especially when they're not creepers or weirdos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for having me.
Of course, it's always great. Just kind of touch back in, see, get your thoughts, what's going on in your corner, and of course, the event's coming up, so we're going to definitely be pushing that. Even if I wasn't a part of it, it's awesome. It's nice to see just people getting together and talking about things they enjoy. And while we've been talking, I looked up. I'm going to compile, notes from when we talked to George, because when I think about George, I think about that episode of Friends he was on. That was my first time visually seeing him, and I'm like, yeah, it's the guy who was obsessed with his sister from Friends.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about that episode. That was him.
Yep.
It's have to ask about that.
Well, it's crazy when you I had seen the movie Tombstone with my parents. That was one my parents loved, and I watched a million, but I watched a lot, and it took me longer than I want to admit to realize that the main female in it, who Kurt Russell's character is after, is Dana Delaney, the voice of Lois Lane.
Oh, yeah. Well, you don't always put the voice face.
And I was like, oh, snap. I'm like, wow. So, well, Kelly, thank you for being on this episode. We look forward to the convention and checking out your thing, your new comics review. All your information will be in the show notes, so you can follow Kelly and catch up on her YouTube activities.
Yes, thank you again for having me, Tyler.
No problem.